the determinant of a Jacobian. That's the real trick here. And the big insight from, so nobody knew how to do this for a long time, and that's why this had no impact on the field of machine learning for many, many years. And it wasn't until somebody came along and said, hey, I know how to do this, so all of a sudden we could do change of variables based learning. And what they said was, let's cheat and let's make it easy. So if we choose transformations where the Jacobian is a triangular matrix, upper triangular matrix, then the log determinant of the mapping from one hidden layer to the next is the sum of the log of the diagonal entries of the Jacobian. So you don't have to compute the whole Jacobian. All you have to do is compute the diagonal entries of the Jacobian. And actually, we can do even better than that. We can do this. We can create specific neural net, reversible neural net building blocks, where you don't have to do any Jacobian transformations at all. You just know the diagonal entries of the Jacobian. So here's one. It's beautiful. Here's the big idea. Okay, how do you construct a reversible neural net? Here's one idea. You take, so this is some layer in our neural net. There's some input to the layer. Call it a hidden unit, a hidden layer. We're going to split that into two parts, U1 and U2. U2 just goes through unmodified for the first half. U1, but U2 goes through two arbitrarily complex neural nets. We'll call them S2 and T2. And then you take the output of this and you pointwise multiply it with U1. And you take the output of this and you pointwise add to U1 and get this thing called V1. Okay? And then, now, let's just stop right there for a second. Is this reversible? So if U2 goes through, so stop in the middle here. So we have V1 and we have U2. Is this reversible? If I tell you V1 and U2, can you go backwards? Can you go backwards? Yes, right? Because if I tell you V1 and I tell you U2, U2 was copied, wasn't modified. I can put U2 through S2 and T2. I can take whatever this added, and I can just subtract it. And I can take whatever this multiplied, and I can just divide it, assuming it's not 0, so minor technical condition, we'll get back to that. And I can recover U1 and go backwards. Kind of cool, huh? And then, but what's cool is S2 and T2 can be arbitrarily complex. What's even cooler is that the Jacobian of the transformation from U1, U2 to V1, U2 is a diagonal matrix. It's not even upper triangular, it's just diagonal. And the entries of that matrix are just whatever numbers S2 spit out. T2 goes away because it's just a biased term, so it vanishes in the Jacobian. So you don't even have to calculate a Jacobian. You just, whatever S2 spits out, that is the diagonal entries of the Jacobian. And then over here, we can just flip the role of those two things and push it through the second half and get some output. So this is a fully reversible transformation whose Jacobian is just whatever S2 and S1 spit out. Those are the entries of the Jacobian. It's a diagonal matrix. So it's very, very easy to calculate the log determinant of the Jacobian. And this makes change of variables, maximum likelihood learning possible, which is awesome. It's super, super cool. Okay, questions? What do you got? Yeah, questions?
How do we split up U1 and U2 in the first place?
Arbitrarily.
And why don't we know U1?
Oh, no. So whatever is input here, you just split it into two halves somehow.
So why do we care about, sorry, I thought you said we were trying to figure out what U1 is based on knowing what V1 is.
Oh, I was just saying, could you go backwards if you had to?
Okay.
And the answer is yeah, right? You just run this process in reverse.
And why do you need to be able to go backwards?
Reversibility. Because now we can train the network in the forward direction, and we automatically get a reversible network. It just happens, it just pops out. It's natively reversible. Yeah.
Why are S1 and T2 biased?
Oh, they're just a bias term because they're just added. Element-wise addition.
So why do we need them?
It's just a little more general, slightly more powerful. Yeah, go.
So is S1 the same as S2?
Nope.
Same network? Okay.
Nope, different
So
network.
you mentioned that our gradient, or like the diagonals of our log gradient, are the outputs from S2 and S1.
Yes.
How are those both divided up? Or like how, is it two separate gradients?
No, it's the, so if we consider, so think of, you have some hidden layer, HT, which goes through some layer and becomes HT plus 1. So there's some HT, there's some HT plus 1, and there's some Jacobian. So the Jacobian is a matrix that talks about how entries in this transform into entries like this. So this matrix is diagonal, and it turns out that it's like if we just divided all these in half,
Yeah.
and we call this U1 and we call this U2, then U,
So are we also just stacking V1 and V2?
and that becomes, yes,
Oh, okay, that makes sense.
and that becomes U1 and U2.
Okay, so how V1 and V2, our output is connected to how the gradient is put together.
Yeah, yeah. And so you can split these apart in many different ways. I've written it kind of using vectors, but of course most of the time you're going to have convolution-y sorts of things. And most of the time what people do is they take a filter bank, like a filter response, and they take half the channels. So they don't split it up spatially, they split it up in the channel dimension.
Yeah.
So you take half the channels, call it U1, the other half of the channels you call it U2, and then push them through. Okay, oh man, we only have 1 minute left. Okay, so we have, we really want to quickly take you through. So you can use this technique on all sorts of unsupervised data. There's a fantastic OpenAI blog on this called Glow, where they're talking about reversible generative models using convolutions. So it's pretty straightforward. And it's they have this fun little interactive thing where they show how you can manipulate the latent space and have fun. So here's Neil deGrasse Tyson, and you can like make him more or less smiling. So that's kind of fun. Give him blonde hair, if you'd like. You could also do this thing where you interpolate in latent space. So you have two faces, and you can sort of have fun. I actually uploaded a picture of myself and Hugh Jackman. I thought, I think it's an improvement. Make me look a little more Wolverine-ish, make him look a little more Professor-ish. Anyway, you can, they have a lot of fun with this. You can go through and check out the blog. So this is one of the authors, Prafula, and they're interpolating between him and another author, Dirk. These are some more standard, like what we've seen, celebrity faces, which are generated from their network. So they're able to sort of train this in. And then you can also do interpolations. So here's Prafula being interpolated into various celebrities. Okay, so the interesting thing here is, if you remember, this is fully reversible. So if you give me any arbitrary image, I can just run it through the network and get the Z. So I don't have to do anything fancy to find the Z that corresponds to a particular image. So anyway, kind of fun. Thanks, guys. Have a great weekend. Enjoy fall weather. We'll see you on Monday.